I was awake. I don't sleep much now. The house gets loud when it's quiet. Pipes, the old fridge, the clock in the hallway that refuses to quit. 48017, card ending in 2453. Location, not here. I stared at the screen. I knew where that card should be. Third drawer, right side of the desk, under the stapler and the red envelope she made for my birthday 3 years ago. The one she signed, Mom and M, the way she always did it. Her name first, then the daughter's, like a shadow. I went to the desk, opened the drawer. The stapler was there, the red envelope too. The card wasn't. I didn't say a word. I just stood there and listened to my own breath. At 2:14 a.m., a text from Emma. No, hi, no sorry. It was for school. I'll pay you back. I typed, bring the card back. She read it. No reply. The house felt smaller than the message. I made coffee I didn't need. Sat at the table and watched the steam try to be smoke. The chair across from me was still hers. She'd sit there and say, "You drink too much coffee," and then she'd take a sip. She laughed when she said it. She liked to be right without sounding like she liked it. Emma used to sit next to her, same side as the window. They'd lean their heads together, whisper about things I wasn't supposed to hear, and then turn and act like nothing happened. Girl talk, they'd say. I never pushed. I was the quiet wall they leaned on when they were done talking. Now the chair was empty and the quiet was a weight. At 7:20 a.m., the front door opened without a knock. Emma walked in like tenants do. Hoodie, phone in her hand, no eye contact. The card, I said. She pulled it from the front pocket and set it next to the salt shaker. Relax, it was for a class. You took it. You weren't using it. That's not how this works. She rolled her eyes. God, Mom wouldn't make this a thing. I looked at her face. She had her mother's eyes, same color, same light when she was kind. This wasn't that light. How much? I asked. She shrugged. I don't know. Books, stuff. 480, I said. Okay, she said, like I'd told her the weather. You'll pay it back? She gave a fast smile and looked past me. Obviously. She took a glass from the cabinet like it was hers and filled it at the tap. She drank, wiped her lip with her sleeve, and set the glass too close to the edge. A cold ring formed and stayed. Say something normal, she said. What does that mean? Like, ask how I am. How are you? I said. I'm fine, she said, already walking down the hallway to her old room. Don't be weird. The door shut. The house did the rest. I put the card back in the drawer and moved the stapler over it like a lid. By noon, I had two more alerts. $63.18, $129.50. Same card, same city as her campus. I sent, stop, now, read. No reply. I turned off alerts. I turned on a notebook. Blue cover, cheap paper. I wrote the date and the times. I wrote the amounts. It felt like laying bricks. At 5, she came out with a bag on her shoulder. I was by the sink, washing a plate I'd already washed. Where are you going? I asked. Back, she said. You're staying for dinner? She shrugged. I told Jay I'd meet him. Who's Jay? Relax, she said, and smiled in a way I hated. He's not going to steal your card. Don't use it again. She was already at the door. You can't control everything, she said. I can control my own card, I said. She sighed. Seriously? Mom? Mom isn't here, I said. She paused and looked at me for the first time that day. Exactly, she said. So stop trying to be both of you. Then she left. The door latch clicked like a small nail set under a hammer. I drove to the bank the next morning. Old branch. Same carpet as always. The clerk recognized me. I said I needed a new card. He asked if I wanted to file a fraud claim. I said no. He asked if everything was all right. I said yes. He told me new cards take 7 business days. He handed me a pamphlet about protecting yourself online like I didn't know how a drawer worked. Emma called at 3 p.m. Why'd you cancel the card? You took it. She sighed hard into the phone. I borrowed it because you won't help. I do help. You help in your way, she said, not in a way that actually makes my life possible. What do you need? Nothing now, she said, and hung up. I stared at the phone until the screen went black. I made rice and chicken, put a plate in the fridge with her name on a note. She didn't come back. The plate was still there in the morning. The note got wet with cold and peeled off on its own. 2 days later, she texted, "Need gas money." I didn't answer. 5 minutes later, "Mom would." 10 minutes later, "Wow." I took the plate out of the fridge and ate it cold. It tasted like doing the right thing for no one. A week went by. No card alerts now. Just the electric bill and the silence that sits on a sofa and stares. Then a letter came from the college. White envelope, bulk mail stamp. Financial aid office on the corner. I put it aside and told myself I'd read it later. I washed a mug. I dried it. I read it. We've received your renewed sponsorship for Emma Carter. Please confirm your payment preference for the spring term. Signed, Michael Carter. My name sat there looking back at me with a neat signature I didn't write. I took the magnifying glass from the junk drawer. I guess I'm that man now. The curve on the M was smooth, too smooth. The hook on the L didn't bite the way mine does when the pen hits the paper. It was mine if you didn't know me. I called the number on the letter. A student worker answered, put me on hold, and transferred me to someone who sounded like a person in a sweater with a lot of calendars. "Sir, we have your form," she said. "Everything looks correct." "I didn't sign it," she paused, "but the signature matches last year's." "I didn't sign that one either," I said. Another pause. "We can send you a copy." "Send it." She asked me to verify my address. I did. She sighed in a professional way. "You'll have it by email in 10 minutes. It came in 6. Same signature, same smooth pretend hook. I printed it, put it next to my real signature on our will from 3 years ago. I looked at both until the page edges looked like cliffs. I wanted to see the difference with my eyes. My eyes kept trying to make them the same. Emma called that night like nothing happened. "Can I borrow the car tomorrow?" she asked. "No." "Can I borrow the car tomorrow?" she said again, like I hadn't understood the word. "No." She went quiet. Then, "Okay, now say the thing." "What thing?" "The speech about responsibility." I didn't say anything. She laughed once. "You know Mom would—" "Stop," I said. Silence. For a second I thought she'd hang up. Then, "Dad," she said, with the voice she uses when she needs something, not the one she uses when she tells the truth. "I'm trying. You make it hard." "You stole my card," I said. Calm, like reading a label. "I borrowed your card," she said, "because you won't help." "Help with what?" "Everything," she said. "Rent, books, food, life." "I buy groceries for this house," I said. "I don't live there," she said. "You come when you need something." "Mom understood," she said. "She'd do it and not give me a lecture." "She's not here," I said. "Exactly," she said again. "Stop acting like she is. Stop making me pay for it." "You forged my name," I said. Silence. She exhaled a small laugh that wasn't really a laugh. "What?" "On the sponsorship. You signed for me." "You're being dramatic," she said. "You signed my name." "It's just a form," she said. "You always ruin everything by making it heavy." "It's my signature." "So?" she said, sharp now. "What if I did? You were going to say no anyway. I'm doing what I have to do. You should be proud I'm not dropping out." "I'm not proud," I said. "Yeah," she said. "I know." She hung up. I stared at the phone again. This time I put it face down and kept my hand on it like it might run. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there and counted the staples in the ceiling seam. I thought about her handwriting when she was little. Big loops, smiley faces in the margin. Notes for her mother. "We need more glue." with 2 exclamations like glue was an emergency. Around 4, I got up and made a list. Blue notebook, date in the top right. 2 columns, what she did, what I know. Took card, alerts show times and amounts. Forged signature, copies from university. Lies about borrowing, text saved. Uses mom to disarm, logged. Calls me dramatic, logged. Wants money, always. Under that, a third column, what I will do. I didn't fill that one in, not yet. In the morning, I called the university again. New person, new tone. I asked for their process when a sponsor disputes a signature. She said, "We don't get that much." I said, "You get it now." She asked me to send a signed letter stating I hadn't signed the form. I said I would. I printed a page. I signed my real name, the way it actually hooks, and scanned it on the old machine that works when it wants to. I attached the forged form. I wrote one sentence in the email body, "I didn't sign this. Send me your verification method." An auto reply came back, "We will respond within 3 to 5 business days." Emma texted at 9:17 a.m., "Did you just try to trash my aid?" I didn't reply. At 9:23, "You're unbelievable." At 9:31, "I hate you when you act like this." I put the phone in the drawer with the stapler, closed it, opened it, closed it again. At noon, the bank called. Different department, different script. "Mr. Carter, a credit application was submitted in your name last week. We need to verify." I didn't apply. "We'll lock it," she said. "You'll get a letter." I thanked her and hung up. Then I sat at the table and put my hands flat on the wood. The grain looked like the map of a place that used to be easy to navigate. Now the lines didn't match my memory. At 5, Emma came in without knocking again. Hoodie, phone, air of a person who thinks rooms are theaters and she's the only act worth watching. "Did you call the school?" she asked. "Yes." "Why?" "You used my name." She smirked. "I am your name." "That's not how names work." She rolled her eyes. "I cannot with you." She started down the hall. "You stay for dinner," I said. It wasn't a question. She stopped, looked back like I'd asked her to build a fence. "I have plans," she said. "You stay for dinner," I said again. She stared at me like she was measuring whether I'd move if she pushed. Then she shrugged and dropped her bag by the door, a soft surrender that wasn't one. We ate in the kitchen. I made pasta because pasta is something you can finish. She pushed it around the plate like it was a chore. She looked at her phone, then at the window, then at me, and then back at the phone. She sighed at nothing. I chewed. "Say it," she said finally. "What?" "The thing about Mom." I didn't say it. She smiled without teeth. "You always want to say it." I set the fork down. "You use her when you want something." "She would want me to finish school," she said. "She said that all the time." "She didn't say steal from your father to do it." She snorted. "Steal. Wow. Big word for a card I had access to for like my entire life." "You didn't have access," I said. She shrugged. "If you didn't want me to, you'd have locked it up." "It was locked up." She laughed once. "Then you're bad at locks." I looked at her face and tried to see the child. I couldn't find her. "I sent the school a letter," I said. "You'll deal with them." Her jaw tightened, barely. Then she lifted her chin, like the move taught in some silent class about not blinking first. "You're going to ruin this out of spite," she said. "I don't do spite," I said. "You do exactly spite," she said. "No," I said. "I do memory." She frowned. "You don't get to pretend nothing happened," I said. She pushed back from the table and stood. "You don't get to pretend this is 1998 and you make the rules." "Sit down," I said. She didn't. She grabbed her bag and was halfway to the door when she turned and shot the sentence she'd been warming up for 15 minutes. "If Mom were here," she said, "you'd be the one apologizing." Then she left. The door didn't slam. It clicked. A quiet insult. I sat a long time. Then I put her plate in the fridge again, wrote Emma on a note, the same note as last time, same pen, same handwriting. The glue didn't stick this time. It fell off before the door shut. I picked it up and pressed it down harder. It fell again. I got the tape. By morning, the university wrote back, "Not a student worker this time, a manager." Serious tone. "We take signature validity seriously. Please verify the following. 1. Mailing address. 2. Last 4 digits of SSN. 3. Preferred phone number. Upon verification, we will send our digital signature audit log for your form." I sent the info. 10 minutes later, a PDF arrived. Audit log, IP address, timestamp, device type. Submitted via campus portal. The IP was on campus. The device was a phone. The timestamp was 11:43 p.m., the night of the overdraft alert. I printed it, stapled it to the forged form, put both under what I know. The stack got a little heavier. I didn't call her. I didn't text. I cleaned the coffee maker. I took out the trash even though the bag wasn't full. I called the bank's fraud line and asked how to request the voice recording for the credit application. The woman told me how. I requested it. I wrote that down too. At 2:30 p.m., Emma texted, "They froze my aid. Are you happy?" I didn't reply. At 2:31, "I can't register. This is actually your fault." At 2:34, "If I drop, it's on you." At 2:40, "Say something." I put the phone face down again. The wood of the table felt warm under my palm. I left my hand there until the heat felt like it belonged to me. That night, I opened a new file on my computer. Sponsorship, hold. I wrote a letter to the financial office in plain words. I will cover past due amounts that I authorized. I will not cover any new amounts tied to forged signatures. If Emma Carter wants aid, she must submit her own documentation and arrange a payment plan. Please confirm receipt. I sent it. Then I opened another file, to Emma. I wrote a single sentence. "You made this mess. You will clean it up." I didn't send it. Not yet. At midnight, the bank emailed. They had attached the audio from the fraudulent credit line call. A 21-second file, a woman's voice, young, quick. "Yes, that's my father's account. He's authorized. He's asleep. I can verify." The agent asked for a mailing address. The voice said it, clean, correct. Then the voice said my middle initial wrong, like it was a test she didn't study for. I played it twice, 3 times. The third time I didn't hear words. I heard rhythm, the exact way she speeds up when she lies. She did it at 5 when she said, "We didn't eat the cookies." She did it now. I saved the file. I wrote audio, 21 in the notebook. Then I wrote the column I'd left blank, what I will do. Lock every line in my name. Freeze every automated payment. Require in writing for all changes. Move savings to a new account. Tell the university they can recover what she stole from her, not me. Wait. I clicked the desk lamp off, sat in the dark. The house made its small house sounds. I listened to them until I could tell which was the fridge and which was the vent and which was nothing at all. The next morning, I didn't call Emma. I didn't answer when she called. I printed the sponsorship hold letter and mailed a physical copy to the financial office because paper gets lost less often when it arrives with a green sticker and a signature requirement. At noon, she appeared in the doorway again. No hi, no can we talk. She moved like a storm. She pushed the letter across the table. "Fix it," she said. "No," I said. Her eyes went wide with theater. "You want me to fail. I want you to face it." "God, you sound like someone who's never made a mistake," she said. "I made one," I said. "I raised you to think I'd always pay for yours." She flinched like the sentence had hands. "You're cruel," she said. "No," I said. "I'm accurate." She swallowed, stared at the wall. Then she pulled the chair back and sat down, hard, like she wanted to break it but couldn't. She put both palms on the table and leaned forward the way people do when they're about to con you. "Okay," she said slowly, like finding a new gear. Let's make a deal. I waited. You pay this term, she said. I work. I cover next term. No lies, I swear. No, I said. She blinked fast. You're not even going to pretend to think about it? I did, I said. All night. She smiled that dangerous small smile again, the one she learned from watching people who think they're smarter than rooms. If Mom were here, I stood up. The chair legs squeaked. She stopped. The sentence ended where it should have years ago. You can go, I said. Take your things. Take what is yours, not what's mine. She laughed. It sounded like a cough that didn't finish. You'll fold, she said, but it was softer now, and not to me, more like a line she needed to believe out loud. I didn't fold. She left without taking the plate this time. I didn't put it back in the fridge. I threw it away. The trash lid shut with a good thud. Final. Honest. I washed the dish and dried it and put it on the rack. I walked to the desk and put the blue notebook on top of the red envelope. I liked the weight. I liked the order. I kept the blue notebook open on the table and wrote the next line like it was a rule. No immediate calls. Build a paper trail. If you yell, you lose the paper. If you panic, you hand them the story they want. I learned that the hard way with the funeral. Calm keeps details clean. I called the bank's fraud line again. I asked for every transaction tied to that card for the last month. They sent a list with times and vendor names, bookstore, coffee shop, gas, a tutoring service with a downtown address. I circled the ones that matched the timestamps on the university audit log. I printed them. I stapled the audio file to the back. I logged into my email and made a new account that didn't have my name on it. I used it to contact the university under a neutral title, Anonymous Concerned Party. I asked for the audit logs for the sponsorship form and the credit application. I didn't explain who I was. I didn't say my name. I asked for IP addresses, timestamps, upload methods. They replied like a machine. 7 days, 2 business days, an internal code. Meanwhile, Emma kept acting like nothing had happened. She borrowed the car twice more. She left a bag of clothes on my living room floor like she was staging a move in and out. She came home drunk one night and left a candle burning on the coffee table. I put the candle in the sink. She pulled the blanket over the back of the couch and left the throw pillows half on the floor. She rearranged the living room the way a guest would. She had the audacity of someone who expects the set to reset when she walks away. One morning, the university called, a calm woman with a headset. Mr. Carter, she said, we've found inconsistencies in the sponsorship authorization. We're reviewing. We've placed a hold on the disbursement pending verification. I said nothing for a long beat. Then I said, thank you. That was the moment the plan began to breathe on its own. I did not want Emma expelled. I did not want her life ruined. I wanted the money back, and I wanted her to learn what it meant to be counted on to be honest. The difference between those two things was everything. I wrote to the financial aid office, again, not from my real address, and asked for their process to return funds that were already sent. I asked them what documentation they would need to process a reversal of payments if the sponsor's authorization was found fraudulent. They wrote back with a list, signed affidavit, bank statements, a copy of the disputed signature, an internal audit log. I waited until the list was on paper in front of me. Then I made copies. I spent the afternoons pegging the holes. I called the credit application number used in the audio and requested the full recording. It took work. They said they needed a subpoena. I said fine. I emailed the district clerk, explained I had reason to suspect identity theft, and asked for the form the bank would accept. I sent the bank the clerk's form the same day. The bank sent the recording. The voice was thin, fast, young. She answered the security questions like someone reading from a crib sheet. The voice said my address, my middle initial off by 1 letter, my mother's maiden name as if it were a fact taught in school. The agent at the other end said, "We rely on voice authentication," and clicked the recording into the file. I printed the recording transcript. I underlined the places where the voice hesitated. I put the transcript in the binder under the blue cover. It began to look like a dossier. Dossiers scare people if they are neat. A week later, another letter arrived from the university. It said they had confirmed the authorization came from an on-campus IP address. It said they were working to reconcile the source device. It said they had frozen the sponsorship and advised Emma to submit personal documents to continue her enrollment. It said in a second paragraph that any student found to have facilitated fraud would face disciplinary action. That last line was the one I didn't float out to anyone. I didn't need to. The university's language did the work for me. It put the bite on her without me raising my voice. She texted, "You've done this." She called. I let it go to voicemail. In the message, she sounded small and then like a machine trying to sound small. "Dad," she said, "you're gonna ruin my life." Then she hung up. I didn't pick up that night either. I stood at the sink and watched the water go down the drain until it was clear. I made rice for 2 plates and left one wrapped in plastic. She didn't come for it. 2 weeks in, the university emailed me directly. They asked if I wanted to file a formal complaint for the forged signature and the unauthorized credit application. They sent their packet, forms to sign, a checkbox for request criminal referral. I circled civil recovery and refund to sponsor and left the criminal box unchecked. I wanted the money returned through channels, not headlines. I sat in my car and watched 2 students cross the quad with backpacks and expressions like they own the future. I thought about how a signature travels, how a shape on paper can rent a life. Emma had learned to shape mine like clay. She did not know how heavy it is to hold weight that is not yours. I set a different trap, not a trap with malice, a trap with a ledger. I opened an account with the bank in a shell name, not a fake name, but a neutral one, Carter Educational Trust. The paperwork was clean. I moved a small amount into it, enough to cover a term. I wrote a check with that account, made it payable to the university as a suspense payment, and sent it with a cover letter. Please note, this payment is made under protest. We dispute the method by which the original authorization was given. We request a full audit and immediate reversal if fraud is substantiated. If fraud appeared, the payment would be returned. If fraud did not appear, then the college had cleared itself. Either way, the money I sent would sit tagged, and the university would have to account for it. I made sure the letter went certified. Then I waited. The waiting was part of the pressure. The university cannot keep funds in limbo forever. Money needs destinations. Documents need signatures. People need decisions. She messaged me the night the certified receipt came back. "You sent them money." I did not reply. A week after that, the university called and said they had completed the audit. They had matched the on-campus IP to a lab computer tied to a student account registered to the date in question. The lab log showed access from a terminal in the language lab at 11:42 p.m. The account used to submit the sponsorship form belonged to a student named E. Morales, not Emma's campus email, but an account registered the same day as the credit application. That name was the hinge. It matched a user who had been seen at the lab with Emma on several occasions, per the security footage notes they provided. A person who had winked and smiled at the camera in the corner. The university attached the footage. She was in the video. She took her hoodie down and typed. She hit submit. I watched the video twice. The first time I saw the motion. The second time I saw the face. She knew cameras. She moved like she was invisible. That was the face I had seen in the kitchen when she said, "Mom would." The financial aid officer's voice on the phone had that tight professional edge. "We've initiated recovery procedures," she said. "We will be filing a charge for fraud under our code, and we will work with your bank to reverse the payments. We will also review disciplinary action. At this point, because the student was the beneficiary, they will be required to refund the amounts. If they cannot, we will place a registration hold." I thanked her. I did not say the words that pulsed in my chest. I did not say thank you for finding the video. I did not need to. It was enough that the university had eyes. Emma called that night and left a message that was mostly breathing. She said nothing specific, but I played it back 2 times, 3 times. I listened for a note that would tell me she understood. I didn't hear it. What I heard was the sound of someone who thinks she can still outrun the ledger. Disciplinary hearings take time. The university can be calm and precise and dull as a blade. That pace benefited me. It made her timeline stretch into realizable consequences. It let the embarrassment amplify without me orchestrating it. She showed up at the house one day with the look of someone who wants a favor and hates to ask. She slid into the chair as if the seat belonged to her. "What's happening?" she asked, which is not a question but a demand. "We're waiting for the university," I said. "They said to submit proof." "What proof?" she asked, like a student who forgets she turned in the paper. "They'll want a statement," I said. "And—" I paused, and I should have stopped then, but the sentence sat in me like something that wanted to be out. "They'll want the money back." Her eyes narrowed. She pushed back the sleeve on her wrist and tapped the watch she thought I didn't notice. "I'll work 2 jobs. No," I said. She blinked like someone whose name was called in a class she skipped. "You're being insane." "You took my card," I said. "You forged my name." "You think I care?" she said. "You don't get to be the victim here." "I'm not playing victim," I said. "I'm the guy who pays the mortgage." "You're a hypocrite," she spat. "You act like you're compassionate, but you hoard what you have." "You think I hoard?" I asked. "I paid for your teeth when you were 12. I worked 2 jobs that year. Do you know that?" She folded her arms like she could armor herself with silence. "You did what you had to," she said, "but you did it like it was a performance." "I did it so you could have braces," I said, "so you could smile." Her mouth did that thin thing again. "You're sentimental," she said. "It's pathetic." The words landed differently than taunts from kids. They landed like cracks in glass. I didn't shout. I didn't need to. The edges of her sentence were already sharp. I left the house to go sit in my car and did not drive anywhere. I watched my reflection in the rearview mirror and practiced a patience that tasted like iron. It wasn't the kind of patience winners talk about. It was the kind bureaucrats use. It was quiet and anodyne and impossible to photograph. I liked it. A week later, the university sent the notice. They found enough to conclude that the payment authorization was fraudulent. They initiated reversal and recovery. They also notified my daughter that because she was listed as the beneficiary and because evidence suggested active facilitation, her account would be placed on hold pending her cooperation in the refund process. It was standard sounding, but it carried the shape of consequence. She texted, "This is on you." I wrote back, "I didn't sign it." She called. She wanted me to talk to them, to smooth it, to intervene. She wanted me to make the university sympathetic. She wanted me to be the person she could use. I didn't. The university froze her disbursement. The email said she could petition, she could provide evidence. She had to prove that she was the victim, not the author. That's a hard position to be in when the footage shows you at the terminal. She started to call friends. She begged a former professor. She did the things people do when they have to fake innocence. They make a noise, they find allies, they send messages at 2 a.m. I watched the list of calls on my phone. They were to friends she would bail on, calls to an older boy she flirted with, calls to a number that was only in her phone as Jack's. I listened. I didn't answer. Her tone shifted. Outwardly, she tried to be composed. Privately, she became frantic. Once, late, I heard the muffled sob through an open window as she sat on the curb outside a friend's house. Then she went quiet and texted, "I'll work weekends. I'll do whatever." The university offered an alternative, a repayment plan. They said if she could not return the funds, they would set a period where any future financial aid would be withheld until the account was balanced. That was the lever I wanted. Not humiliation, not headline, a ledger, a month-to-month removal of easy options, a deadline. She tried to sell her stuff. She pawned things. She took a nanny job in the evenings. She called me once to ask to borrow $50 for bus fare. I gave it. I didn't lecture. I gave her the amount and a receipt for it in my head. I wrote it in the notebook. Over the next 3 months, she worked. She worked nights as a barista. She delivered groceries. She tutored kids. She paid sums back in small increments. They tracked it. The university tracked it. I watched as the numbers in the bank account moved like fish under glass, slowly, relentlessly. Sometimes she came by the house to drop off envelopes. She'd slide the cash through the mail slot and then stand on the porch waiting until I retrieved it. Once she put a $10 bill in an envelope and hugged me. "I'm sorry," she said, as if 2 words could stitch months back together. I let her place the envelope on the table and return to the cold porch. She waited 5 minutes like a child, then she left. The ledger filled. It did not undo the night she spent lying. It did not bring back the trust. It did something more practical. It made her stand in a line she could no longer skip. There is power in rules. There is also mercy in boundaries. One warm afternoon, she knocked and opened the door without waiting. She was thinner. Her skin had a new patience, the one people develop when they get enough hours to make bills. She stood in the kitchen, hands in pockets, looking too old for 19. She looked at the blue notebook on the table and then at me. "I turned in the last payment," she said. Her voice had a different edge, less spark, more plainness. She sounded small, and I think she knew it. I nodded. "I saw." She shifted. "I—" She stopped. The sentence with apologies needed a soft landing. She couldn't find it. She swallowed and tried again. "I thought you'd be easier. I thought you'd pay." "You thought wrong," I said. "I know." She let the admission sit there like a pebble in water and watched the ripples go out. "I'm sorry," she said finally. No flourish, no plea, just the word. I picked up the blue book and set it between us. The top page had the list of transactions. The bottom had a single new line: final payment received, date. I slid it toward her. "Read it," I said. She read silently. Her lips moved. When she finished, she looked up and I could see the calculation she was doing in her head. Debts paid, dignity checked, the cost of a lesson tallied. The look was not pride, it was recognition. "I don't want to be that person," she said. The words were small, but they were there. "You won't be," I said. "Not if you don't let yourself be." She stared at me like someone checking a map. Then she said something else, slow. "You were patient." I thought of the nights with the clock, of the water in the sink, of the files and the phone calls. I thought of the things I had not said to her that could have made this different. A conversation about money, about care, about grief. Those things had their own timing. Too late sometimes, but not always. "You used your mother's name to make it okay," I said. That was the thing I couldn't forgive. She flinched as if struck. "I thought she'd understand me," she said. "I thought she'd tell you to give me a chance." "She would," I said, "but she would not have made someone else pay for that chance." She looked at the floor and for a long time said nothing. Then she asked, "Can I come back? Just live here? Help?" I hesitated in a way that felt like a test. Then I answered plainly, "You can come back, with conditions." She nodded. "I'll follow them. Pay rent. Contribute to groceries. Show up when you say you will. No using my stuff without asking. If you break the rules, you leave." She looked as if I'd described a map. It was small. It was fair. She agreed. We set the rules like a contract. She wrote them on a piece of paper and signed it, laughing once when she saw the formality of it. The laugh was brittle but true. She meant it. For the first week, she stuck to it like someone learning a new language. Months passed. The ledger closed. The university cleared her, academically and administratively, but the disciplinary note stayed in a file. It would pop up later, in interviews, in references. It would be a small bruise on an otherwise useful resume. She would work through it. She would carry the bruise longer than a lesson, and maybe that was the mercy. On a late November day, I found an old tape in a box labeled Mom. I hadn't meant to look. It served no purpose but grief. It was a cassette with handwriting in my mother's looping script. Emma sings at the fair '03. I put it in the player and the sound came out like a room. Emma's young voice, high and fierce and pleased. My wife's laugh under it. The memory was unmediated. It was raw and soft and small. Emma found the room with the player on and joined me in the kitchen doorway. She watched the tiny daughter sing and then looked at me. She loved it, she said. She did, I said. We stood in the kitchen with the tape as evidence that people are not only who they break into, they are also the ones who once wanted to be louder than the world. You won't make me forget what I did, she said. No, I said, but I won't make you live only inside it. She bent down and kissed the tape player like you kiss a relic. It looked strange and right at the same time. Spring came, then another spring. Life continued in the small, stubborn way it always does. The mortgage gets paid, the fridge hums, the garbage truck comes on Tuesday. We learned to eat together without the ritual of absence. Sometimes we talked, mostly we did not. Mostly we put one foot in front of the other until the front yard no longer felt like a battlefield. One evening at dusk, Emma picked up a screwdriver and fixed the loose hinge on the back gate. She worked methodically, slow, the way you do when you mean a repair to last. I watched from the kitchen with my hands in my pockets and thought about the ledger, the tape, the blue notebook with its heavy cover. I thought about how a person can be two things at once, selfish and repentant, mean and human. When she finished, she wiped her hands on her jeans and smiled at me without a weapon. There, she said. Good, I said. She cocked her head like she was testing a new sound. You ever forgive fast? No, I said. Too loud. We both laughed. It was small and brief and true. The house held us. It had room for both the ledger and the tape. It had room for rules and for mistakes. It had room for the ordinary things that survived the noise. A repaired hinge, a paid bill, a dinner shared with the lights low because the day is done. I kept the blue notebook in the drawer where I could reach it when the night was long and the house was loud. Sometimes I still write in it, not often. But when I do, I write one line. Remember what you want to be. Then I close it and let the clock keep time. Winter came again before I realized it. Not the sharp kind, just the quiet one, when the air smells like metal and the house keeps its breath close. Emma still lived here. She paid rent on the first of every month. Cash, folded, counted twice. She never missed. She worked nights at a grocery store, scanning items, stacking shelves, learning how heavy small things can be. It suited her. Not because she liked it, but because she couldn't fake it. You can't cheat weight. We didn't talk much about school anymore. The university had wiped her balance clean, but the note stayed. Disciplinary record, financial misconduct, resolved. Those words would follow her, printed small in files she'd never see. And maybe that was right. Some mistakes are supposed to echo, not to punish, but to remind. On Sunday mornings, she made coffee first. She knew I liked it strong, dark, one sugar. She never said it out loud, just did it. Sometimes I'd come to the kitchen and she'd already be there, hair tied, hoodie half zipped, phone face down. No eye contact, just a nod. It was enough. One morning, she broke the silence. You ever think Mom would hate this? She'd hate what happened, I said. Not this. What's the difference? She asked. This is what happens when you clean up after what happened. She thought about that. Then, she liked you better when you didn't talk like that. Maybe, I said. We both smiled, a tired kind of smile. After that, she talked more, stories from work, how customers threw tantrums over coupons, how the manager gave her old produce to take home. She laughed at things again, not the careless laugh from before, but the kind you earn after being quiet too long. Some nights she'd fall asleep on the couch with her phone still lit, a message half-typed. I'd cover her with the old blanket, the one her mother used to keep in the car. It still smelled faintly of detergent and thyme. By March, she'd saved enough to talk about moving out. I found a place near work, she said one evening. Tiny, but mine. You sure? Yeah, it's time. I nodded. Then it's time. We packed boxes in silence. She labeled each one with a black marker, neat block letters. On the last day, she stood in the doorway with a single bag. I took the mug with the chip, she said. It was yours anyway. She hesitated. You ever going to throw away that blue notebook? No, I said. Good, she said. Someone should remember. She left. The door shut soft, the way she always shut it now. Careful, deliberate, no more clicks like insults. The house was quiet again, but not the same quiet as before. This one wasn't empty. It was earned. I kept her last envelope of rent money in the top drawer under the stapler. Didn't cash it, didn't need to. Every time I opened the drawer, it reminded me. The ledger had ended, but the story hadn't. Weeks later, she called. Not a text, a real call. Her voice sounded steady, different. They offered me a promotion, she said. That's good. I told them the truth about before, the file, everything. What did they say? They said, thanks for being honest. I didn't say anything for a while. Then, I'm proud of you. Yeah, she said softly. I know. The next Sunday, I made coffee early, 2 cups, out of habit. One stayed full, steam curling, waiting for someone who might walk in again. I sat at the table, notebook closed, the house breathing steady. Out the window, morning light hit the street like a small mercy. Some debts don't need collecting. Some lessons don't need repeating. The point isn't to forgive. It's to stop keeping score once you finally win. Spring slid in without permission. Soft mornings, long shadows, the kind of light that makes everything look cleaner than it is. Emma visited on Sundays. Not every week, but often enough that the house started to remember her rhythm. She'd bring groceries, cheap ones, but thoughtful. Rice, onions, coffee. Always coffee. We didn't talk about the past anymore. Not because we agreed to forget it, but because we'd both said enough. Some things don't need to be forgiven. They just need to stop being repeated. She looked older now. The angles of her face had sharpened, but the constant defensiveness was gone. Once she caught me looking at her too long and said, "What?" "You look like your mother when you're quiet," I said. She smiled in that halfway that meant she was both flattered and uncomfortable. I'll take that. We found a rhythm that wasn't peace, but something workable. She helped paint the porch. I fixed the mailbox that leaned since winter. She teased me about my handwriting, said it looked like someone who still writes checks. I told her I do. She rolled her eyes. We both laughed. The blue notebook stayed in the drawer. I didn't need to open it much. But sometimes when the night stretched thin and sleep refused, I'd pull it out and read a few lines. Dates, amounts, signatures, ghosts of anger that had cooled into lessons. There was power in remembering, but more in not needing to anymore. One Saturday, she brought a small gift, a plant, potted, green, and stubborn. It's supposed to be hard to kill, she said. Then it'll do fine here. Don't water it too much. Let it find its own way. I nodded. That your philosophy now? Kind of, she said. You let me find mine. She started leaving earlier after visits, work, friends, a life I didn't need to supervise. Every time she left, the door made that soft click again. No slams, no exits that felt like breakups, just departures. One evening, late May, she called from her apartment. I got accepted back into the fall program, she said. That's good news. They gave me partial aid. I wrote a letter explaining what happened before. What did you say? The truth, she said. That I did it, that I learned. They believed you. I think they wanted to. I nodded, though she couldn't see it. They'll still keep it on file. I know, she said. Some things should stay on file. After we hung up, I sat in the kitchen and thought about the word file. It meant record. It also meant survival. It meant someone cared enough to write it down. A week later, she stopped by with a man. Tall, careful handshake, polite eyes. "Dad, this is Ethan," she said. "He's in my class." I shook his hand. "You working?" "Part-time," he said. "Saving for next semester." "Good," I said. "Learn early." He smiled, unsure if it was a joke. After they left, she texted me, "You don't have to scare them." I wrote back, I wasn't trying to. She sent a laughing emoji. That was new, the kind that didn't feel forced. Summer settled. The plant she brought grew toward the window, small leaves curling toward light. She came by less. That was okay. Absence is easier when it isn't a punishment. One afternoon, I found the red envelope, the one she'd signed with her mother years ago, Mom and M. It had faded. The glue had lost its stick. Inside was a photo from some long summer, the three of us at a fair. Her mother smiling too wide, Emma holding a paper ring she'd just won. Back then, we didn't know how fast a family could change shape. I put the photo on the fridge with a magnet. It looked right there. Not nostalgic, just factual. Proof that once we'd been simpler. That night, Emma texted, thinking of Mom. I wrote back, "Me too." Then she wrote, "I think she'd be proud now," and I believed it. I looked at the photo again, the fair in the background, the color fading like time doing its work. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel the need to guard it. The house didn't feel like evidence anymore. It felt lived in. The blue notebook stayed closed. The plant reached higher. The air in the kitchen was warm and still. Outside, wind moved through the yard, quiet, steady, nothing left to prove. Fall came back slow, like it was testing us. The mornings were cool again, and the light in the kitchen had that same tired gold it had the year everything fell apart. But this time it didn't sting. It just existed. Emma called every few days. No emergencies now, just check-ins. Sometimes she'd send a photo, her at work, her in class, a coffee on a library table. Nothing dramatic, just proof of normal life. It was strange how much weight there was in simple things that used to mean nothing. In late October, she showed up unannounced. She had a folder in her hands, papers inside. She looked nervous but not scared. "Can I show you something?" she asked. I nodded. She sat at the table, same chair as always. "This is my essay," she said, "for an ethics class." I raised an eyebrow. "Fitting," she smirked. "Yeah, I thought so too." She opened the folder and started reading out loud. "When people talk about forgiveness, they usually mean someone else's choice. But I think the real thing is remembering what you did and learning to walk past the place where it happened without hiding your face." Her voice shook on that line. She cleared her throat and kept reading. "I hurt someone I loved. I used what they taught me against them. I told myself it was survival, but it was selfishness. And he didn't scream, didn't curse, didn't cut me out. He just made the world real again. And in that reality, I had to pay for everything, not with money, but with time." She stopped, looked up. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said. "Keep going." I thought punishment was cruelty, but it's not. It's a kind of faith. It means someone still believes you can do better. My father never said he forgave me. He just stopped needing to. She closed the folder. The kitchen stayed silent for a while. Then I said, "That's good writing." She smiled. "It's honest." She looked around the room like she was seeing it for the first time. The chipped counter, the old clock, the plant by the window. "This place feels smaller," she said. "You outgrew it," I said. "Yeah," she said. "That's good, right?" "It's the point." She leaned back, sighed. "They want to publish it in the school journal." "You should let them." "You think?" "Yeah," I said. "People should know what it costs to lie." She nodded. "I'll add that line. People should know what it costs to lie." When she left that evening, I watched her car pull out of the driveway. She drove slower now, not cautious, just calm. Headlights caught the wet street, and for a second the reflection looked like two paths going in different directions, then merging again down the block. Inside, I cleaned the table, folded the dish towel. The blue notebook still sat in the drawer. I opened it one more time, last page, blank. I picked up a pen and wrote, "Debt settled, lesson kept." Then I closed it for good. The house exhaled, quiet, steady, alive. Outside, the wind pushed through the trees like someone turning a page.